Hello, everybody. I'm Jason Liosatos. This is Outside the Box and Project Humanity. Thanks for joining us again. We've got a great returning guest this evening, a gentleman who's spoken at many of our amazing conferences here in Great Dartington, Great Hall over the years. Justin Walker, the greatrising.org. Justin, thanks for joining me. And I'm very excited about what you're doing. It's absolutely fantastic. Well done.
Oh, it's great to see you again, Jason. Yes, well, it's all happening. I'm looking a little bit haggard because I've been up most of the night watching the local election results, and it's all it's done is confirm to me how dreadful politics is. And I'm always reminded of Billy Connolly. He said, anyone wants to go into politics should be banned for life. And quite honestly, when I've seen the people on the screen today, in the studio, out there in the constituencies or whatever they are, local elections, and you look at them all and you just roll your eyes because they have no idea what's going on in the big world. Absolutely no idea. There's elephants in the room, but there they are playing their silly petty party games, fiddling whilst Rome burns. Our
Well, Matt,
country,
Matt, Matt Letizia said, didn't he? I know you know Matt Letizia.
I know Matt very
He
well,
said,
lovely
he
chap.
said, whoever you vote for in the current paradigm is different cheeks on the same arse, you know?
Yeah, oh, it is. I mean, let's be vulgar because I think this is one of the things I like about the movement we're now starting is that we're using a lot of humour and a lot of mockery. And I'm thinking of Frankie Howard immediately when you say mockery, mockery.
Frankie
So
Howard.
we know that these psychopaths, sociopaths who are controlling us, they're just so weird and so full of themselves. They hate being mocked. They hate being made fun of. So let's use that to our advantage. So yes, a lot of humour. I'm a Lancastrian. I live in Cumbria now, but I'm a Lancastrian, and of course the Lancashire people are known for their humour. So let's have a good laugh at their expense.
Well, okay, so the Great Rising is a great thing. I've been following it for a while, Justin. So well done for that. What we're looking at now is as the net. I'll let you run with this, obviously, and we'll show it in a minute. But as the net's closing in on humanity now, as we've been warning people for many years at our conferences, by the way. And I've been, as you know, I've been crucified by the BBC, The Guardian, George Monbiot, and all the rest of them for being a
You stuck your head above the parapet, and
I
what happened?
did for being a nutcase conspiracy, but the things that we've talked about are now coming true, of course. So it's a very exciting time in one sense that the smelling salts is hitting more human noses, the chloroform's lifting at last, the amnesia's lifting, but the big thing is now what? As the net closes, the AI people are going to lose their jobs, the digital slavery, the digital control. As lovely people like Sandy Adams have been warning people also about
Oh, good
for many
old
years.
Sandy, part of
Good
our
old
team.
Sandy, yeah.
Yeah.
Well done, Sandy. So now is the time to talk about solutions quite quickly. So this is where you come in.
Right. Okay. Well, let me just run up what we're doing. We as you say, you very kindly introduced the Great Rising. Well, a group of us, there's probably around 20 of us, we were discussing, how we proceed. And so one of us came up with the idea, well, let's call it humanity first, because this is what it's all about. It's humanity. What we've got out there in the big wide world, courtesy of the World Economic Forum and the Bank for International Settlements and all these people, all these think tanks meeting behind, corralling us towards a future where, well, it's just like China, because in China, of course, you can't move whether you're in your home, on the streets, or in your workplace. Big tech, high tech is watching you. And the Communist Party, the Chinese Communist Party, is making sure that you behave as a good citizen 24/7. And if you're not, you'll get punished. And in many parts of China now, in the big cities, you've got this technocracy. And this is clearly the way we're all going. And the World Economic Forum wants this. And of course, with that will also become transhumanism, connecting us to the grid, connecting us to this. Yeah, it's a dreadful Orwellian future.
Which is becoming normal.
Yeah, and so we've really the warning signs are all there. So we've just got to wake up and to a large extent grow up because we've got to take our responsibilities as human beings and to restore human values. Now, this is at the moment when you see decision making done in Parliament or elsewhere, it's all for vested interests. It's all for personal gain. It's there. How can I make some money out of this? Everywhere you look, It is not about service. It certainly isn't about human values. I've got a little list here. I've got to read, what do we mean by human values? Well, let's look at them. Compassion, empathy, generosity, kindness, decency, wisdom, service, truth, and the best one of all, the biggest one of all, love. Now,
All those things, by the way, Justin, sorry to jump in.
Mm.
If people just think about this now when they're watching this, all those things are the opposite to what is really happening at the moment,
exactly.
which is quite an amazing thing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, if you wade through Hansard, and I wouldn't recommend it, but if you wanted to wade through Hansard, just find out how many times you saw human values on parade. I don't think you'd find very many. Now, coupled with those human values, we also want to be able to ensure that we harness critical thinking, common sense, and common law, natural law. So, in a nutshell, this is what we are saying has to be the future. We've got to embrace and ensure that all decision making involves these qualities, these values. Now, this is. At the moment, we have four massive elephants in the room where the conventional politicians will not go near. And
sorry, Justin. I'm very sorry to jump in again, but it's very important that I do say that Andrew Bridgen was down here in Totnes recently, talking about these things, but and they've tried to stop him coming here actually. But carry on, yeah. Just to
I was
say,
just saying, Andrew. I know Andrew very well in the sense we talk together, and he is one of my heroes actually because he was the one who brought up the Bradbury pound. And some of your people may remember I'm usually talking about the Bradbury pound. That's debt-free, interest-free money based on the wealth of the nation that the British government could be putting out. There's no need to be involved in the international banking system, monetary system, anything like that. And of course, when you look at the people who create and control the world's money at the moment, they are all private individuals, unelected, unaccountable, and they meet in secret. Now, how can that be right? Because that's why the world is suffering. That's why we have a third world, so-called third world. This is why we've got half the world's population going to bed almost hungry and worried about money. And of that half the world's population, you've got a sizable number who are completely destitute,
and
absolute squalor.
And,
now,
and look
how can that be right?
And look what's happening now with the Straits of Hormuz. I know we don't want to go off on another tangent. We want to stick to the Great Rising. I know that, but just to say to people, many people are saying now that this Strait of Hormuz thing, the fertilizer, this, and there's already people starving in the world just because of what Israel's doing with Donald Trump. It's just incredible. And some people are saying, well, they're doing it purposely, to bring it all down. Diesel prices going up.
I think this will be a good one. Just carry on.
Yeah.
Let's kick into the long grass. Any idea that Trump is working for us? Trump is not. He's grade one behind the system. So the system gave him his wealth. He went bust a couple of times, I think, and he had to be bailed out. No, he is not playing three-dimensional chess, four-dimensional chess.
No, what a load of crap. And so many people are still saying to me, he's going to save us. He's tricking the Zionists.
People need to grow up and engage some grey cells who think that. I mean, let's be honest. He's already killed hundreds, if not thousands, of totally innocent people.
Yeah.
Listen, if you want to play chess against these autocrats, these globalists, whatever you want to call them, it's very simple. You take away from them the right to control the money. If they can no longer create and control the world's money, they can't create and control their agenda. It's as simple as that. Yeah. So all we have to do is shut down the Federal Reserve, immediately pull away from the Bank for International Settlements, and tell all nations on the earth, create your own money, as we did with Abraham Lincoln with the greenback dollar, as the British government did in 1914 with the Bradbury pound. You create money based on the wealth and the creativity of your country, and you work in harmony together, so you have stability. You don't have people making money out of money. You don't have usury. You see, this is it. You don't. They're all playing the great geopolitics. Oh, well, might ally with China or do this with China or whatever.
It's a casino.
No,
It's a dirty, dirty, horrible casino of
of course
profit,
it
debt,
is. And
slavery, short-term greed, profit, power, debt.
oh God,
And if you base it on that, what most people are going
and
to go off the rails, you know.
and the
So,
bankers are making look at what's happening at the moment with all these blessed weapons being chucked around the place in Iran and stuff.
mm,
Who's going to make the profits? And Ukraine as well.
yeah,
Who's going to make huge profits?
it's sick and
The killing.
disgusting. It's
Yeah.
sick and disgusting. It's
And
horrible.
all the politicians, Trump, Starmer, he may not be
Mm.
around much longer, but all these people, these are all in the pockets
Mm.
of these dreadful
And
psychopaths.
each election it changes by name and but not by nature. That's why I'm a sort of political atheist. But I've got great hopes for people like Rupert Lowe and all the rest of it.
Well,
But
Rupert's
generally,
got to.
it doesn't change the system, does it?
Rupert needs to be taken into a quiet room to have a lot of things explained to him. I mean, I've been at this game for 40 years. And I woke up shortly after David Icke woke up because David was a friend. And I'm going to be honest, I read his books with an open mind and I went, this is interesting.
Mm.
So I owe a huge debt of gratitude to David. And I know you
Yeah.
had him on your program
A
recently.
couple of weeks ago, I've had him on so many times. He's been very
Yeah,
kind to
and,
me.
and, and quite honestly, let's be honest now. How can people laugh at David when everything he was saying 30, 40 years ago are now becoming true?
Yeah, well, look at the Epstein files and all that coming out
Yeah,
now. I mean,
cut the guy some
he was
slack.
telling people about that. I was
Yeah,
in Parliament and someone told me in there they're all paedophiles. That was years ago.
I know.
That was
Yeah,
before Epstein, before Savile, before Prince Andrew.
I know.
And I was in there and they said, "See them all. They all know in there."
Yeah,
They're
and
filthy, you know.
mentioned Andrew Bridge, and he knows. I mean, everybody knows that Parliament is a sick place,
Yeah,
and it's got to be replaced. And I better come on to those four elephants
yeah,
because this is where at the moment we've got the left and the right. We've got the political spectrum. You've got the progressives and the patriots. Okay, and they're going to be having the patriots are going to be having their big rally on May the 16th or 17th, whatever it is, and everyone say, "Oh, we've got to take sides," and all it is confrontation and division.
mm,
Now, for those of us who can see that human values must start to take precedence and everything else, you realize very quickly that the entire political spectrum has been put there deliberately by our opponents to keep us fighting each other, to keep us divided. Now, if we took, the top patriots and the top progressives and put them in a room together and say, right, let's start right from the top. Who disagrees with love? Who disagrees with compassion, empathy? Work down. Right, what do you feel about children? Do we want to see the abuse of children? Of course we don't. So you gradually work down and say, money creation, money supply, shouldn't that be in the hands of people who are accountable, transparent, elected, people who are servants of us, who are working for us, who are literally doing what is right, practicing wisdom to give us the best monetary outcome? Is that a good idea? And you gradually take this down, and they'll start to see that they're in the room together and they think they should be shouting at each other, but no, we've got a lot in common. Now, take the progressives. Just a moment ago, I mentioned the bankers and how dreadful the bankers and usury and how they plunged into debt. These are the people who came up with man-made global warming. These are the people who came up with the climate change scam. But the progressives worship, oh no, we've got to get, yes, ecology and green politics. And I joined the Ecology Party back in 1978. I'm one of the originals. And I'm passionate about caring for the environment, getting the plastics out of the ocean, the rainforests, getting the pollution, all that. I'm 100% a green. But I witnessed at first hand the Ecology Party, then the Green Party, being hijacked by the bankers, by the elitists, by the globalists. And I was actually offered a job by a guy called Aurelio Pecce, who was a co-founder of the Club of Rome. And this is the organization that really came up with man-made global warming. And this is back in 1982. And he actually said to me, "You'll be joining us at a very exciting time. We are creating a huge environmental problem that's going to frighten people into wanting a world government run by us." Now, at the time, I thought it was brilliant because I thought he was a really nice guy. And he was introduced to me by my uncle, who was a really nice guy. But then, having read David Icke's books and everything else, I realized very quickly that this is a mindset that is not good. And of course, the funny thing is, when you ask the Extinction Rebellion type people, who are normally lovely people, and your friend George Monbiot, the one who yes, and you ask these average, you ask these people, what percentage of the Earth's atmosphere is CO2? I remember in Totnes, when I was down living there, I talked to one lady from Extinction Rebellion, and she told me it was 60% of the Earth's atmosphere was CO2. Well, you know what it is. It's 0.04%. If it drops below 0.198%, all the trees start to die. Everything is we need more CO2, not less. So for the progressives, please, you've got to realize you've gone down a cul-de-sac. You've been sent down there, a cul-de-sac, and you've got to come back. And I fell for it. There's no loss of face. I have had to go down cul-de-sacs, learn from my mistakes, and come back. We're all here to learn.
And you know what? Sorry, Jim. He also told me a conspiracy fictionist for saying there was geoengineering. And have you seen this, guys? Have you seen one? I've had Maria Chrysler on my show. She's a blood analyst from America, and she's showing you what's in your blood from what they're spraying on us. It's a terrible disgrace, Justin.
Oh, it is. I mean, some people still believe in contrails are up there too. But the
tiny little ones behind aircraft that disappear, not these stripes in the sky.
And when you see the whole thing become a misty haze, and of course they're now talking about, governments are talking about cutting out sunlight deliberately. I mean, to fight, combat climate change and what have you. But they're telling us, well, have solar panels. I've got solar panels on my roof. So it's a complete absurdity. So the progressives, I ask you, I beg you, just realize you're being taken for a ride. Now we move to the Patriots. And the Patriots, oh dear, they're all promoting Israel. I'm sorry, how can you be a patriot and be a patriot for two countries? And it absolutely beggars belief. Now, I've always known, my father was a Royal Marine Commando officer, and he was in Palestine in the spring of 1948. He'd been called in, he was a 4-2 Commando, being brought in to back up 40 Commando. And one of his jobs was to escort a 500 vehicle convoy coming from Jerusalem to Haifa, because it was the end of the British mandate. And there was a massive convoy and it needed protecting from snipers. And the snipers were all from the Zionists. There were hardly any Arabs, because the Arabs wanted the British to try and sort it all out. So my father sent out a patrol, and they came across a farmstead, a homestead just outside Jerusalem, to find Palestinian women wailing and wrapping the bodies, because a terrorist team from the Zionists, from Israel, or the paramilitary, Zionist paramilitary, had gone in there and gunned down a father, a mother, and 3 children. And my father went to his grave telling people bluntly that Israel was founded on terrorism. How many people know about Count Folke Bernadotte, who was the Swedish diplomat, a Swedish aristocrat? And he'd been sent by the UN Security Council, which had only really been set up, this is 1948. And his job was to try and find a pathway for peace between the two sides. And he came up with various solutions, and he was on his way to go and see the new military governor now in Jerusalem, because the British had pulled out by then. And he was stopped at a checkpoint set up by, I think it was the Ergun gang, but they were Zionist paramilitaries. They looked in the car, saw him, and then machine gunned him, killing him and his aide, who was a French colonel. Now, I'm sorry, Israel has gone flat out to commit terrorism. I mean, we've got the King David Hotel. I mean, there's a whole multitude of nasty, the Nakba itself, the Nakba, where up to 14 or 15,000 innocent people were murdered, just to frighten them off the land that Israel is then going to claim.
Well, their plan, the Greater Israel plan, is becoming so much more obvious now. Tucker Carlson asked Mike Huckabee, didn't he?
Yeah.
What, are you saying just from this thing in the Bible that you've been told you're God's chosen ones? He's the estate agent who's told you can take over the whole of that land, even no matter how many people you kill. This is insanity. There's no borders from space if you look.
It is. And the worst thing is this. You've got the campaign against anti-Semitism.
Hey,
and
by the way, Justin, I gotta say, that anti-Semitic shield has worked beautifully, hasn't it, for so many years? But at last, it's dissolving. At
in
last,
America, APAC and everything is crumbling.
at last, at last.
The American people are waking up. We've got to wake up because they're trying to say anything anti-Zionist is anti-Semitic. It is not. Zionism is a political creed, like Islamism. I condemn Islamism too. But you see, what they don't realize, all these patriots who are good people, what they don't realize is there is actually a hidden cult behind Zionism and Islamism, and that this is the Sabbatean Frankists, the Sabbateans. Now, this is an evil cult, and they believe the more evil you can do, the quicker you find God. And they exist. Again, it's historical, and it involves you in about 1776, around that time, you had Weishaupt. I can't remember Weishaupt. Yeah, he was the one who started the Illuminati, the Bavarian Illuminati, and then his people took over Freemasonry. So effectively, Freemasonry was captured then. And you also had the House of Rothschild, and you had Jacob Frank on the Sabbatean Frankists. And they did an unholy alliance. And it's that unholy alliance that created Israel. Because this is why people really need to know their history, real history, not the history taught in the schools. The victor always writes the history. No, I'm talking about real, provable history that completely blows apart Israel, its right to exist. I mean, I kept asking to campaign for anti-Semitism. 10 times at least I've asked them, please tell me the difference between the terrorism that was practiced on October the 7th and the terrorism that was practiced in 1948. Please tell me the difference between what was done allegedly by Hamas, and we'll come on to them in a moment, and what the Zionists were doing to create Israel. And they can't come back to you because they can't answer that. And nor will any of the people who are apologists for Israel answer that fact.
And I had an IDF soldier on my show, and he said they let him come in. That's what they did. But
That's what
and
I'm
also,
just going to come on to.
well,
Hamas,
can you say about Hamas and
well,
Netanyahu's been
Hamas, I mean,
funding them, right, and
Hamas
creating them,
was,
right?
yeah, Hamas was set up by Mossad or by Israel to counter the effect of Yasser Arafat, because Yasser Arafat was in the West Bank, and they needed to have their people, puppets, in control of Gaza to diminish the support of Yasser Arafat. And it's well known that money has come in via Qatar, I think, or possibly, In other words, there's a huge problem. And as you said, it was allowed to happen. I mean, they were stood down. As somebody remarked, he said, if a cow farted, Israeli intelligence would know about it. Gaza was completely surrounded by a secure ring. This was stood down, just like 9/11.
They wanted to
Yeah,
flatten it. They wanted to flatten it and destroy
of
it for
course they did.
years and
Of
years.
course.
And that's why Olmombi said to me again, "Oh, you're saying that Israel controls Washington. That's a conspiracy fiction, right?"
Oh my God, I thought at least George Monbiot would realize that, well, this is it. So you've got the progressives who have fallen for the climate change scam, and you've got the patriots who've fallen for the Zionist plot, the Zionist scam. So we've got these elephants in the room. So you've got the elephant of Israel, you've got the elephant of climate change, but you've also got the elephant of the abuse of children, because the paedophile rings operating around the world, and not just the slavery of children as well. I mean, when the Greens want more batteries, you've got children in the Congo and elsewhere suffering. I mean, having to work like slave-like conditions. The abuse of children everywhere in the world is truly appalling. And it's not just the grooming gangs, with people. No, look at it all. And all skins, all colors of people are involved in the abuse of children. It's not just one particular part of society. It's across the board. And the abuse of children, we've really got to get our grip together. We've got to get a grip of this.
And just one quick thing, I just want to say thank you to Justin. Stay on that course, obviously, but when you did the talks with us in Dartington Hall, with other great guest speakers from around the world, ex-CIA officers and everything, Robert David Steele and all those people, there was people who used to come into my gallery and say, "Oh, the conference about the abuse of children and the satanic abuse of children," they said, "I can't face it." And I used to say to them, "But you know why it's going on? Because people can't face it. So that gives it carte blanche." to do what the hell it wants. Sorry, I just thought I'd chuck that in.
Well, do you know, I
We
mean,
did
I'm glad you
conferences.
I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the reasons why Israel has got to be replaced by a new country, because Israel can't be allowed to continue. It's got to be a new country where all the free Abrahamic faiths can live happily together as they did before the Balfour Declaration. And very quickly, the Balfour Declaration actually did say that Jewish can have their homeland, but they've got to live with the existing people who are already there. But going back to Israel today, and the current regime in Israel, do you know up to 2,000 wanted paedophiles are being protected in Israel from having justice? They are literally, if you're a paedophile, you nip to Israel because you're protected. It beggars belief how this is conducted, and it's other Jews in Israel who are appalled. I mean, let's get this one absolutely straight. Jews, there's nothing wrong with Judaism at all, and the Jews are marching with the Palestinians on these hate marches. Are they hell hate? I've not seen any damn hate. The propaganda coming from the pro-Zionists is truly appalling. So hopefully that's the other elephant that we can embrace. And finally, the other elephant, which you've already touched upon, is money creation and money supply. People have got to, learn about what is happening, because once you get back control of your money, everything is changed. You won't have students paying for their education. You won't have empty shops on the high street. You won't have, your armed services being hollowed out. The police will have proper community policing again. But the most important thing is your infrastructure, your roads, rail, everything will be working properly. Your health service. In fact, I don't call it the National Health Service now, because what we want is a natural health service.
Yeah,
We
right.
want to get away from the big pharma and all the rest of it. But with money creation and money supply in the hands of wise people who are fully accountable, fully transparent, all the problems in society will be healed. And I was actually told this by that phone call I received, anonymous phone call back in 2012, because my uncle had been a director of the Bank of England for 17 years. And I had written an article for the UK column, it was a newspaper, promoting why couldn't we have a greenback pound? Because this is like Abraham Lincoln joined. I met a very nice lady called Ellen Brown, and she completely made me realize just what a scam money creation is. So I looked at what Abraham Lincoln did, and I wrote a simple thing saying, why can't we have a greenback pound like Abraham Lincoln did to win the American Civil War? And suddenly I get this phone call out of the blue from a chap claiming to be the son of a former director of the Bank of England who knew my uncle. And he said, my father is not long for this world. He's crippled on his deathbed, but he wants you to know the word Bradbury. And from that, I realized, that opened everything up for me. But the thing this chap said to me, the son of this guy said, if you look at the Bradbury, if you explore the Bradbury, you will find a solution to all of Britain's economic woes. And it's true. I mean, but again, I didn't know about it. All my friends who thought they knew a bit about economics didn't know about it. And you've got all these schools of economics, like the Austrian school, the Keynesian school, the New Economic School. All these schools are flawed because none of them recognize that the entire banking and financial system is in the hands of private people, unelected, unaccountable, meeting in secret. And that cannot be right. So anyway, so there we are. So those are four elephants. And we've just got to get the left and the right, the progressives and the patriots. Please come into a room, look at us. We are human beings. And this is why we're calling this initiative Humanity First. Look at the core human values that we all agree with them. So, let's work together. Now, I'm hoping you're going to show a to-do list, because I'm conscious of the fact that we've only got 45 minutes. So maybe it's very important that we show people here on the Humanity First website. If you scroll down a bit further, let's see, keep going. Well, there we are. How do I get involved? Your local to-do list for stopping tyranny. Now, the first thing I'm going to say is the Great Rising is not something to join. We're not a hierarchy. We have no leaders. We are signposts. We are people who have spent decades researching this stuff. You mentioned Sandy Adams. She's done a tremendous job. And in fact, I learned a huge amount from Sandy about Agenda 2030, UN Agenda 2030. But we've got a tremendous team on board. And one of them is an initiative that Rachel set up called Council Watch. Rachel and a few others, not just Rachel by herself, but a few of them. And Council Watch is a brilliant concept because when they're trying to impose net zero upon us and they're trying to impose all the climate change stuff and they're trying to imprison us into 15-minute cities. And actually, as a green, I actually like the concept of a 15-minute city or whatever. It means you can walk to all the things you need, but it's voluntary. And if I want to go out somewhere and go to another community to live, I can. This is a Chinese imposition. This is a technocracy 15-minute city where you are totally controlled. Now, we've got to stop this from happening. And the best way to do that is to win over the local councils, to win over local councillors, because they are going to be controlled like all of us. They're not elitists. They're not going to be, okay, we're all right, but they won't be. No, they're going to be included in all this. And it's their ignorance that is allowing all this to happen. So we've got to increase their knowledge base. They've got to understand the big picture that we've just been talking about. And especially about money, because every council have not got enough money to fill those potholes, to look after the elderly in old people's homes, all the rest of it. Their services are having to be cut back. If they realised how money should be created, well, because they're going to come over to us, because virtually all councillors are family people. They're doing things. They're not like the sort of centralised politicians, the MPs and stuff. They're good people. And we just need to win them over. And you win them over with humour. You win them over by being nice people, not shouting, ranting and raving at them. You win them over by logic. You sit them down and say, look at the evidence. Look at this. Did you know about this? Do you know about this one? And talk to them as human being to human being, because that way they are going to go, yeah, right. We shouldn't be doing this. Oh, we're going to stop that. But once they start to stop the rollout of this net zero and all the other stuff that's going in with this utopian, totalitarian lockdown on all of us, they won't be able to do it, because if the local people are not prepared to do it, there's nothing they can do. One of the things my uncle said, there are 10,000 people actually run the world. Actually, the real figure is probably around about 8,000, something like that. I've talked to other people. Remember, Ronald Bernard, the
Banker,
Dutch,
yeah.
remember, yeah, he said 8,500 people run the world. So whatever, we are 8 billion, or that's what we're told we are. 8.2 billion we are. So there's roughly 950,000 of us to every one of them. The people who are trying to drive this nightmare Orwellian world for all of us, they are outnumbered. So once we stop complying to what they're telling us to do, and non-compliance is the key word to everything. Just don't comply with what they're rolling out. They're finished. And once you take away their right to control the world's money, you've won. And it really is as simple as that.
And
So
it's
what
brilliant.
we're saying is,
It's just brilliant how the people in the councils and many people who are good people are controlled by money, because they're ethically compromising themselves, because they've got to shut their gobs and carry on doing what they got to do, even if they know it's not quite right, because they got children to feed, they got bills to pay.
yeah,
It's a disgraceful, awful casino system. And
yeah.
so how about these other topics on here? I'll scroll down, Justin. Go on.
Yeah, I mean, it just, I urge people to just simply go to have a look at the website, go through it all. We've got a team who have completely updated the entire website. You've got links, recommended reading, everything. You can spend hours on there. But we just ask people to go and have a good, long, hard look at it and look at the solutions. Okay, this is the key to the whole thing. We're talking about solutions. Do you know what we always hear in politics? We hear these conventional politicians. I love that cartoon. That's what it really is.
Absolutely, yeah.
What we hear about our politicians, they're always saying, we want hope. We want change. Hope and change. Hope and change. Those are the two words that empty politicians talk. What we're talking about, we want truth and we want solutions. And we're giving people those solutions, what they can do at a very local level to change things completely. Now, I've got something else too, a bit of an announcement to make, actually.
Oh,
Um, because only this week, some of us were trying to work out how do we take things further. And of course, the cornerstone for our democracy, even though it's failing at the moment, the cornerstone that we all like to, in a romantic way, I suppose, the 1215 Great Charter, Magna Carta, something that we all feel, a warm inner feeling about. And of course, part of the Great Charter is that everybody should have a right to be tried by your peers, trial by jury, and an annulment by jury to stop bad, flawed legislation coming from Parliament. So the Magna Carta, the Great Charter, is it's something there that we should put on a pedestal. However, we also, relevant. It was something done during the feudal times. It was done by aristocrats. We know that a lot of it is not really relevant to today, apart from the jury and stuff. So, rather like in the American Constitution, where they have amendments, we feel the time is now right to set up to draw up an addendum. And an addendum, it'll take probably a year to get the writing absolutely right, but it's there. The addendum is putting forth the solutions that will bring down this totalitarian future they're trying to create, and will do so forever, because it's going for the principles of how you prevent tyranny from breaking out. So this is going to be it's going to take a lot of writing, a lot of research, a lot of, good people coming together to perfect this document, which will be an addendum to the Great Charter, right? And then in about 3, 4, 5 years' time, because it is a 5-year strategy that we put out with the Great Rising to take us up to 2030, which is the time when the UN and others feel they can lock us down with their lies into this technocracy. Well, we're going to have quite the opposite. And whoever the king is, that king is going to be made to seal this addendum. So it literally rises above politics, party politics, parliament, all this stuff. It is up there with the Great Charter, the addendum to stop future tyranny. So that's a rather exciting thing that we're doing, and it's going to take a year to gain traction. So this one interview with you and others is not going to suddenly make it all happen. And I'm not the only one, by the way. There's a team of around 20 of us who are busy doing this. So hopefully people are going to say, right, it's time for solutions, it's time for truth, and most importantly, it is time to organize so that the other side loses, basically, and take back control of money. That is the thing. We've got to learn about money creation and money supply. And once we do that, and we demand sovereign money, which is the Bradbury pound, the 1914 Bradbury pound. And by the way, the principle of creating sovereign money is already being done. The loose change in our pockets, the coins, are all done via the Treasury, the Royal Mint, and it's based on the wealth of the nation. Those coins are based on the wealth of the nation. But the notes all have, I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of, because they are thin air money created by the Bank of England, which is not controlled by the Treasury, it's controlled by the Bank for International Settlements, and etc., etc. But it's all there on the website. In fact, there's a section there on money. If you scroll down, you'll see that I've got 5 letters I've written now to the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves. She cannot answer those questions. I've set her 6 questions. She can't answer them. The letters have been sent by my MP, so I know she's got them, and she cannot respond, because if she did, she brings down the House of Cards. Everything that we're up against is actually a house of cards. And with these solutions, we can bring it down.
well said, Justin. Well said. And we'll run out of time, but what I always do is I wait and have a little rant at the end as people. So if you want to hear my rant, wait
I
a
think
minute.
I'm the one who's been ranting, but go on.
Oh no, you're the guest, mate. I try to say as little as I can, but in a minute when we leave, I'm gonna just say a few things at the end, and one or two of them will be about what I feel about what's going on now. There's a lady I know in Tottenham. There's quite a few people homeless. The government won't give her any money. They won't put her in a house, right? She's got to go to the food bank, right? But if she comes across on a boat, she'll get a free hotel. That's another whole story, right?
Well,
But
we didn't touch on it. I just
go
quickly
on
say,
before you go. Touch on that, yeah.
once you have people in control of money, you will not have migrants and all the rest of it because people will want to live where they were born amongst their communities. People are not going to be forced to travel the world looking for jobs and looking for stuff. But also, with the boats, people arriving, common sense dictates if you don't know who they are, they've arrived illegally, they are put into very humane but secure places so they can't just wander around communities if you don't know who they are. That is common sense. So, getting back, but of course they're being allowed to create all the problems because this is part of what they're doing. They're creating the problems. They're wanting people to rise up. They want the violence. They want people to be disgusted and because that way they can clamp down. So we've got to keep it peaceful. But common sense says if you've got these people coming across in boats, you don't know who they are. They must be put in secure accommodation until they can be sorted out. But the biggest picture is you wouldn't have all these migrants and stuff once the world is in charge of its own money, sovereign money, because people will not want to leave where they were born and the communities they were brought up in, because every community will be prosperous, every community will be looking after their own. So that's the vision we've got to have because it's true. Once you control the money and not others, different picture altogether.
Well said, Justin. And so go and see Justin, thegreatrising.org. Justin, I want to say thank you again for all your wonderful
Well, I
work.
must emphasise it's not just me.
No, no, no.
I want to build a model railway. I don't have no ambitions to be prime minister or anything else, but I do have an ambition to see the truth gets out there with the solutions. And then I'm happy to step back because a lot of good people can step forward
Yeah.
because this is all about us now, not about egos, not
Mm,
about people trying to rise up. And
mm.
what I said about before about Billy Connolly, anyone who wants to get involved in politics, bar them for life.
Yeah.
Uh, and seriously, it is all about duty. It's all about service. We're all here to serve.
Well said, Justin. And also, thank you very much for coming to all our conferences over the years and
Oh, I've loved them.
speaking
Loved
very boldly and bravely. And you're a great mouthpiece for truth. Thanks, Justin. I'll see you
them. Very kind
soon.
of you to say
And
that.
thanks for everything, mate. You're a great guy, yeah.
Thank you very much, Jason. And thank you, because people like you, we can't be heard.
Oh, it's tiring, mate. I'll tell you what, I just like I haven't got a model railway. I just want to go and ride my motorbike. I don't want to be doing this really, to be dead honest.
Well, it's very important you have plenty of good distractions to keep you happy. I mean, that's it. Keep yourself balanced and happy and laughing.
It's true. It's true. Thanks, Justin. Lots of love
Thank
to you.
you.
Thanks so much. All the very best. See you
Thank
now,
you.
mate. Bye bye, Justin. What a great guy, Justin Walker. Well, off he goes. It's just wonderful. And I'm not going to stay here very long. I'm just going to have a very, very brief, just say a few words because I've got to go and open my art gallery in Totnes in Devon this morning. We started early this morning, me and Justin, 7:30. But Justin's spoken at our conferences in Dartington Great Hall with other great speakers. And Justin's just a great guy. So thanks, Justin, for everything you're doing. So I'll just round it off by saying, like Justin said, sort of in a way, government in its current form is like a sickness. Yeah, anyone who wants to govern anyone else is it's a dreadful system that we're living in, and it's changing. The sad thing is for me is it seems to me like it's got to not only collapse but almost strangle people even harder and bring people down to their knees even more than they already secretly are, um, before things can change and alter. That's a very sad thing for me. I think it's terrible that things have got to collapse almost and get so terrible, and for the digital ID and the AI slavery to come in. This up to half of the people are going to be losing their jobs. What are they going to do with those people with AI? AI is great in one sense. It's like a surgeon's scalpel. In the right hands, it can do fantastic things and change things for the better and bring humanity up. and help us to do the job, the menial, mundane jobs. But in the wrong hands with the wrong intentions, a scalpel could do terrible harm and enslave and hurt the population of the world. And it's going to plunge people into starvation and poverty. It's just incredible what's going on. So, and that is brings me on to the next thing about how people secretly feel: depression, anxiety, suicide. It's off the scales. It's off the scales, and people are secretly suffering. They don't talk about it. So, I've told you before that we're going to get many more people coming on the show talking about this, and I've got a great lady on the show next week from Totnes who's helping people with depression and helping people to cope with that. And there's so many people who are secretly depressed. It's become normal now to be in a state of anxiety. And as I've said many times on this show, anxiety, depression, almost those suicidal feelings, like you can't stand it any longer. You're being browbeaten, bullied, smashed down. You can't pay your bills, blah, blah, blah. All those feelings that you get secretly of terrible anxiety, depression, and like you can't stand this system anymore, they're natural feelings. They're natural symptoms, actually. I've said it so many times, but it has to be said again. Natural symptoms from a healthy body, mind, and spirit that's living in a world that's driving it mad. So anyone who doesn't feel those feelings, if they're in a typically normal job paying bills, there's something wrong with them, because you can blank them out, sure. You can drink yourself to death every night and smoke loads of weed and stuff and take antidepressants and tranquilizers and antipsychotics. That can dull the pain down a bit, but it's there and it's a natural feeling. So we shouldn't hide from that. We should talk about that because most people feel it. You're shunted into this world of madness, this slave system of debt and misery and struggle to pay your bills. So most people feel it, but people are very brave. And as I've said on the show many times, there's a great thing in people, a great system placed in human beings to sort of be able to endure tremendous suffering, boredom, and punishment. It's a great system because it keeps us going. But that system it shouldn't be keeping us going to do this terrible thing we've got to do every day to make money. It's dreadful, but it's become normal. Making money is normal. If you haven't got it, oh my God, money doesn't make you happy. Yeah, but it bloody well helps. If you haven't got money, you're in big trouble. I know a lady in Totnes. She's just come back. She went overseas. She's just come back. She might be coming on the show, actually. She's been down to the council, begging them for money. She said, I've got no money. I'm sleeping on people's couches, yeah? I've got no home. I've got no money. You won't give me money. Yet, if you come in as an illegal person across the channel in a boat, and I'm not racist, guys. I married a black lady from Cape Town, so don't call me racist. I was there in Cape Town getting shot at when Mandela was in prison on Robben Island. I was standing up for the terrible apartheid system of slavery and abuse of black people. That's one of the reasons I got involved with the Palestinian thing, talking about exactly the same apartheid system abusing Palestinians, just like they're abusing the blacks in Cape Town. So don't call me racist, but you come across on a boat and you can go into a hotel free with money, get paid, have 3 meals a day. This lady's going to the food bank, and so many other people I know. It's got to change, yeah? It's incredible what's going on. Absolutely incredible. Anyway, I'm not going to go ranting on too much, but I will say before I go that that's what this whole thing is with Justin, with the greatrising.org, which go and look at the website. Brilliant website. We need to now start new systems independent of government control while we still can. Because soon it'll be a case of if you try and do anything, people, it's going to be Orwellian. Well, you can't do that. Shut. You're not going to create new systems. Shut up. We'll just shut you down. We'll shut your bank account down. We'll shut your digital slavery down. Yeah. So we need land and we need exciting communities. And this is one of the things that we're doing at naturalearthecoliving.com. Contact me by email, jason.liosatos, Liosatos, @btinternet.com. or Jason.Liosatos at protonmail.com, and get in touch with us, because I'm going to do some talks now soon around the area, that we're looking for people to come up with, like they call them, angel investors. We want to start the new community. I've got farmers on board that can help us. I've got people who can grow, people who are inspiring, people who can create an amazing community, an inspiring community with their own food, with their own water, our own electricity, right? And people have said, if you can do that, I want out of this system. But the system is like a terrible M4 motorway, you can't get off. But if you can create off ramps, because let's face it, when you're born onto the M4 motorway of slavery and control and debt and money. And you've got to get on there, man, and you've got to get a job real quick, or you're homeless. Yeah. Now, people have said to me, if you can create off ramps off that motorway of slavery and control and disaster, quite frankly, count me in. So I know people who are buying houses on their own, whereas if two or three of them got together, you could buy farms and create these new templates. So we need to create new templates. So we're looking for investors to come forward who want to get involved. And I'm going to be doing talks now called What I Would Do If I Had £1 million, or What I Would Do If I Had £10 million. And it'd be an unselfish act. I would be creating communities to help people get off this system and into new, inspiring, creative communities before it's too late. Because once this digital AI slavery and cage comes around us, it'll be very hard to get out. Yeah, very hard to get out, and you'll be completely controlled with everything you'll do. It'll be Orwellian. So get involved. Get involved with what Justin's doing, and let's create other ways of living and being on the planet, independent of the one that's torturing and killing us, right? It's quite obvious. But how tortured have we got to be? How tight have those shackles got to get before we say, enough's enough, we've got to try something else? And money corrupts, generally. Money can do great things, but money generally corrupts. And the higher up the political ladder people go, the more ethical compromises they make, or they don't get up those ladders, And if they're not controlled by Israel, they don't get anywhere, quite frankly. Look at Trump. He sold his soul, yeah? He always had. So stop this 5D, 3D chess people are telling me about, oh, Trump's with the white hats and all that. What a load of crap, yeah? The guy's up to his neck in the Epstein files, and he's being controlled by Israel, as he always has been. Anyway, that's enough for me. Go to see our links, go to naturalearthecoliving.com. Go to if you want to see my artwork, I'm an artist. I've got a gallery in Totnes in Devon. Come and see me if you're in the area. That is jasonliosatosart.com, and go to see all my programs with my recent interview with David Icke. I've started a new YouTube channel, but go see Jason Liosatos on YouTube. But unfortunately, I got banned off YouTube many years ago when we were talking about lockdowns and things like that. So I never really recovered from there. So go to jasonliosatos.com and you'll see my other work there, and my book, which is called you'll see all my videos there, my interviews, and my book, which is called The Emergency Transformation of Human Beings, where I talk about solutions in there, solutions to raise our vibration and raise our consciousness and step back into our power and magnificence, and be that beacon of power and light and a shining bright light in the world, not our diminished selves, our diminished, browbeaten, broken spirits. Actually, we've had our spirits broken by the system, so it's time to repair those spirits inside ourselves now, and find that strength and magnificence and creativity in us all again, and that spiritual rising, really. I've got great hope. I have. It might not sound like when I talk like this, but I have got great hope. We've been rendered virtually helpless, yeah, by a system that's gone mad. And in one sense, that's good, because that choking of the system is actually making us wake up. Very strange dichotomy. Anyway, I'll see you again soon. I've got that lovely lady on next week. We're talking about finding our power and rising above the depression. And just to let you know, don't forget, I do love you all. And please treat each other like you like to be treated. and treat other people with kindness and dignity, you know. And I forgot how to turn this thing off now. I'll find out in a minute. Treat each other with dignity and love, and be kind to each other. Because when you're kind to each other, it actually helps you. It's very healing, and it creates more harmony within yourself, you know. Anyway, love you all. Take care. See you soon. Bye for now. If I can turn this off. Here we go. I found it. Yeah. Lots of love. I love you. Be kind to yourself. Stand in that power. Raise your vibration. Bye bye.